Okay, just finishing off my gem lake scene. That's what I just named it, right? As I was doing it, I thought, these colors kind of look a little bit gem-like with that kind of aqua tint to that blue, kind of a warm blue. But anyways, I just felt like finishing off one of the stamp sketches that I did in the previous video. And this one I saw done in some real aqua, kind of green, blue-green tones. But for me, one of my favorite areas of the scene is this kind of passage back up in here of light kind of coming through there. I thought it looked kind of rustic, especially with those kind of warmer tinges of some very subtle values of my distress inks. Kind of a warm little kind of undercoat, base layer coat to this whole scene, and this passage of light right here is really fun for me to apply, even though the star of the scene is really this kind of aqua, blue-greenish, warm blue color scheme down here. But all of it together, I think, provides a nice setting for this figure looking out into the lake, so maybe where they're joining her in terms of this view here, or we're living through here in terms of, what she might be seeing. So figures are always kind of fun to place into a scene. It gives kind of a context and reference point as far as scale goes, and just kind of adds to the overall scheme of the scene. So anyways, if you choose to watch the video, I hope you enjoy it. Okay, this composition here was created in the last video, and it was based around this the lady with coffee image, and 3 different stamp sketches, compositions, and I really wanted to finish these off. Okay, now I thought I would start off with this one, and I was thinking about, okay, now a lot of times I just did these all in just black ink. Okay, now if I really wanted to kind of adjust my color scheme around a little bit in the actual imagery, I would have taken time to, say, color some of these trees, variations of probably greens, browns, something like that. Same thing goes for these foreground pines. I would have done them in probably a really dark green and maybe some black as well, just to get a little variation in them inherently in the impressions themselves. So for the fact that I did all of this just in black, I thought I would just do a I was thinking about an aqua green color scheme up here and make it something more along the lines of dusk, or kind of that time of day, just to make it a little bit darker. Now, I make a lot of my scenes dark anyway, but I thought especially so with something like this, just for the fact that these foreground images are just so dark, they're just done in black. And let's go from there. Let's call this like a high Sierra type of thing, and let's really make this one kind of more of an aqua green, not aqua blue color scheme, which some of those high elevation lakes might be. And this is a light blue Marvy. This is a Caribbean blue. We can try the Bahama blue here. I really need to try out some or purchase some more colors. Oh, I really love this color right here, manganese blue. That's, I don't know, I think that was my favorite blue out there as far as craft inks go, but unfortunately this one does not come in a pad form. If it came in pad form and re-inker, I would just get the re-inker though. But anyways, I don't have that, so I'll just utilize this pen and just draw it on my applicator like that and apply it that way. Alright, so let's start this off. Let's incorporate a gray into this color scheme. Okay, now I knew it. It's my gray is at the bottom of my stack of Memento inks here. It's always the one you want. It's always at the bottom of the stack. I don't have a pad organizer right on my desk, so I have to stack everything up. But luckily, all the pads that I know, they are stackable. Okay, now I have some blue in this stylus tool. As you can see, they really hold a lot of ink, and I just let these sit right on the top of my table. If it was really arid, you know, dry out, I would throw them in a Ziploc bag, but I don't really bother with mine doing that. But if I did that, you know, chances are it would my inks would stay moist longer in the actual tip, but I don't know. You'd be surprised. I might have some of these tips kind of just, you know, I might not use them for a week sometimes, and I go back and it's still moist on the tip, you know. But that's in the area that I am. It might be different where you live. You know, like I said, if it's a lot more kind of moist, I mean dry. Okay, just kind of adding this down here. Okay, I'm kind of establishing somewhat of a lighting scheme now. I'm kind of hitting this right along the shadows down here. And I thought maybe I'll, you know, retain some of the white up there to go for some kind of warm color. A tinge of warmth up there as well. Okay, now my gray pad is getting a little bit dry. That is London fog. It looks more blue because I had so much blue in this one, but the more that I use it, it should kind of look a little bit more blue-ish. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I have just so much blue in that it's not going to kind of alter. Now I am just going right over this woman here and not really worrying about it. I'm getting a little clumpy here. My streaks aren't as streaky as I normally make them. Oh, this little tip here is starting to delaminate here. Let me switch this one off. Well, my tips are quite old, and they do that at times, but okay, much better. Just kind of do a really light touch with them, okay, and they'll last you a long time. That one's probably 20 years old that I've been using. Well, maybe not that long, maybe 15 though, at least. I don't know if there's a way to... I guess those are stuck on with some kind of glue to begin with. I don't know, maybe super glue or something like that. Because that one's just kind of delaminated and it wasn't tearing. Okay, so adding this in. Now I want her to be kind of lit, so I don't want to make that area too dark by her. So I'll kind of go more left side shade dominant, okay? And I'll have it kind of illuminated right in here, some light kind of shining on the water. Okay, let's get a little bit of tone over here. Maybe this mountain right here is a little bit farther back, or a lot farther back than this one right here. So I'll keep this one maybe a little bit more illuminated. Okay. Alright. Now one of the things that's occurring to me so far is I think I want to, instead of just going with all cool colors, I'm thinking I want to kind of tweak the colors. Okay, it's really time that I wash off some of my tips here. I'm running out of my kind of clean tips. If I didn't run out completely, there's brown in this one. But I want to get a little bit of a tinge of warmth in here, okay? Kind of like an underline, tinge of like an old paper or antique linen distress ink. if you have a tan or something like that, Memento has one called Desert Sand, something like this could potentially add a nice kind of warm glow underneath your cool color scheme. And this one's going to be mainly kind of your blues, but adding that little tinge of warmth would be really good. Okay, so I am going from, unless I can find a clean tip here. Okay, I'm going to pause the video. Wait. There's a little bit of blue in this one. Okay, I'm not going to be lazy. Okay, I'm going to go clean off a tip here. Okay, we have a clean tip here. I just put this under running water and just kind of squeeze this out on, you know, on the sink bowl or whatever. And just, it all comes leaching out of there just fine. Okay, let's try this old paper here. I have a feeling these are a little bit dry as well, but no matter. Yeah, there's a little tinge of that warmth I'm looking for, that kind of earthy. See that? There's that little tinge of it up here, and there's nothing here, so you can tell the difference between white and that color. Pretty subtle, which is the good thing about a lot of these inks these days. There's a lot of choice as far as getting some very pale values of colors. So then it's kind of just warming things up a little bit, and it is a way to add in, you know, warmth into an otherwise cool color scheme. And the same can be said. You can use a blue, like a really light shade of blue in color schemes that are otherwise very warm, and it just kind of tweaks the you know, the temperature scheme of a given composition. You know, just having all warmth or all cool. Well, you know, it can look fine, but if you add that kind of opposite range or element into the scene, it can really complement it. And it can be very subtle too. I mean, I could just leave this as the only warmth, and you'll just have that slight glow coming through, you know, your darker, cool temperatures. And this kind of warmer temp kind of does complement the Caribbean blue color that I'll be adding in here. But anyways, let's try the antique linen. That was old paper. Here's the antique linen. The antique linen looks a little bit darker to me. Same, very close in theme as far as the hue goes, though. Okay. All right. Let's go on with let's go with Caribbean blue. Let me see. Let me try the Bahama. Bahama, it's a lighter tone, so let me go with that one first. Okay, do you see that right there? It's a little bit darker than what's laid down, but just taking this up incrementally into my darker colors, okay? I usually like working from light to dark. Okay, let's go with Caribbean. It's really nice, kind of a jewel-like blue. It's one that I didn't use too much before. It was one of the, I don't know, it was like the second or third release of Marvy inks back when they used to have ink pads. They have a lot of colors in their range, but they didn't have everything in the matchable format. Marvy Matchables, which is the name of the pad. Oh, I forget about the manganese. Okay, let's see. Let's add this down here first. Okay, and that looks pretty good, right? That. Okay, there's a lot of ink that's can be held in these tips here. Normally I wouldn't blot off, I would just go to my next color, but let's keep this manganese fairly pure. It'll overlap and, you know, you won't see a pure version of this color, but I want to get a lot of this one laid down in here. Okay, so I'm just kind of rolling this on this. This is the Marvy 1500 series of brush markers. They give you a really thick, wide tip right there. It's really fantastic for kind of rubber stamps with a lot of surface area. Okay. I don't know why that's so squeaky. It's kind of weird. Okay, there we have our water. Hopefully it looks nice and crystalline. You put that blue over the top, and those rocks underneath just kind of become a texture in there. Okay, now I thought I would keep my mountains a little bit different in terms of my hue to the rest of the composition. I don't know, I mean, they're going to be similar just so that, you know, they kind of relate from a visual standpoint and color scheme standpoint, but let's try some of the darker gray up there. Alright, now I'm just using my manganese blue, so there's going to be some blue in here, so it'll be hopefully a kind of a more bluish gray. Looks like I need to re-ink my gray. I don't use this gray too often, so I don't re-ink it very often at all, but it looks like it can use some re-inking fluid pretty soon. My rinker's probably very, very full for this gray. Kind of hitting some of the shadows in my mountain up here where it looks dark. I'm just reiterating it with some more ink to kind of flesh in that lighting scheme within the design itself. All right. Okay. I'm just trying to think of what other colors I want to add in here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip into my alcohol pens. I'll go with a range of warm gray, I think. So here's a warm gray 2, warm gray 4. These are Shuttle Art pens. They're very inexpensive. If you're ever thinking about maybe getting some colors that I just bought a whole set of them for 80 of them for $40. But it's a good way to go. Let's say, I don't know, I don't have any problem with these pens at all in terms of their quality, but let's say you don't want certain colors very much. I don't know, you get your favorite colors, you know, if you want to buy kind of like a kind of more expensive brands, and you can get like one of these sets, you know, and it'll have, you know, a range of a lot of different tones in there, but you're just paying like 50 cents a pen for them. Okay, this is warm gray. I don't like that too much. I was putting it up here in these mountains. This is a warm gray number 1. Let's go with the cool gray. It stood out a little bit too much. Okay, here's a 0.5 warm gray. Boy, that is really light. Or is it? Wait. Let me try the warm gray number. Okay, this one's really pale. It's so pale that, you know, I can kind of try it out without making a huge commitment to that hue. Yeah, it looks okay, but I think I'll blend it out with a cool gray. Okay, so here's a cool gray number 1. I didn't even know there was a 0.5. I haven't used these a lot. Yeah, here's the cool gray 0.5, and here's cool gray number 1. So let's just blend that together. Inevitably, you know, you can blend. You know, it's the beauty of these types of pens, is that, you know, you can blend in different colors. I would never do like a, okay, that's this one color and this is another color. I would, you know, I would incorporate, you know, different values, if not different hues or temperatures in this case, together, just to blend things in a little bit, and so that those colors that you're applying kind of transition. All right, now this is a very light tone. Okay, so it's doing both coloring and blending. Let's get some of this on these rocks as well. Some of this gray. I believe in some of the rocks, tops, especially light as they are, light in the image itself. Okay, so I'm kind of hitting more of the shadow areas. Now this isn't a very dark color, so you know, if I get this down here, you can't see it at all because, you know, the colors underneath are already darker, so you just move up into your next tone. That's what's great about these sets, is having the range of values of any given hue. So, let's see. Here's your cool gray number 3. Here's a number 1 right here. I don't even see a number 2, if there is one. Like I said, I haven't used these a tremendous amount, but they sure are handy, you know, for what I use them for. Okay, hitting this in the shadows right here, you know, at the base of the rocks. And like I said, these colors are, you know, if you kind of work from very light tones, almost where it's barely noticeable, it's just so user-friendly. Okay, I'm just going kind of in these areas, and I'm reiterating the shading design within the stamp itself. So if there's an area that's darker on the stamp, I'm just going in there and enhancing that a little bit more. Here's this chisel tip part. But talking about how user-friendly this is, you know, these are so light and they're not going to blend like this. I can just go all over like this. You know, it's not any real big deal, okay? I wouldn't do that technique, but, you know, when you start light like that, it's really hard to kind of mess up, you know, because you have control over the amount of application that's going in there. Okay, so that was a number 1. Let me go back this one a little bit more. Now I did some choppy things, so let me blend that in a little bit. I'm just going back with the 0.5. I'm using it as a blender. just to make a point. Okay, so here's that one's in there. Cold gray number 1. Cold gray number 3. All right, let's hit those shadow areas a little bit more. Deepen my shadows right at the base of the rocks, where the rocks meet the water. Okay. Now see these mountains up here, there's shadows in my mountains, so I'm just going in here and I'm reiterating that, that shadow lighting scheme with my pens. And it's barely visible because it's just a little bit darker than the color that's already in the design, okay? Yeah, that one's a little bit lighter in the background, so let me blend it in. I go with the darker one, then I'm going with the lighter one as a blending tool, just to kind of blend that in. Okay? Now, since we're doing this, I mean, I can, look at this pastel blue here, baby blue. Would those look nice? I don't know. I'm guessing they would, since this is kind of a bluish crystalline lake. Why not try some of the blue here? Let's see. I don't know. Let's see what it looks like. Man, it's really bright. Now let me hit my shadow areas in here. Yeah, that does look pretty good. It's real crystalline in terms of the brightness and clarity of this blue. It's a little bit too much, so I'm going to have to go and, I'll just blend it in. But look at that right down here. Look at that really nice blue. I don't know if you can tell this video, but it's a lot brighter than that ink that I laid down in there. So I'll just kind of keep this in my shadowy areas, oftentimes, and of course something's not getting hit with direct light. It's the brightest, okay? Not the lightest, but the brightest in terms of intensity, okay? Look at that really bright tone down there. That's provided by my pen, okay? This is the color of this pen right here. And, I think this is kind of creating that type of setting that, I'd love to be there and witness, along with this character. So you can kind of join them, or, maybe that is you in the scene, it depends on how the characters of a scene kind of have an emotional connection. Sometimes people have a wolf in there and they really kind of relate to that kind of spirit, So maybe the animal spirit is kind of with you. In terms of figures, if you use an animal here instead of a person. Alright, so adding that blue in there in the shadow areas. Let me see if I have another version. This one here's a ice blue. Looks a little bit more greenish to me. It's real similar to the to this tone right here, isn't it? So that's kind of the Caribbean blue. Let's get this added down here, just kind of layering this in here. I think at a lot of different areas there's these lakes, they're always called like Gem Lake. And that's what's starting to come to mind here in terms of the colors, that real bright turquoise kind of color scheme in here. The alcohol inks have been laid down in here too, and it's becoming quite tacky to the touch, until that ink dries. Sometimes after it dries it's a little bit tacky as well. You can give it a kind of a spray with a Krylon or something like that, a workable spray fixative. Okay, now let's see. her shirt there, she could be wearing white or something like that, but I think I'm going to give her kind of a tan, khaki-ish looking shirt. Let me dip in. Okay, no, I don't know. I have a lot of pens in this Shuttle Art set, but I think I was going for something. I want to go for something like this. Well, here's a similar color, pastel peach. This one in the Marvy Le Plume range are called. This one's camel, and this one's apricot. So just basically going light, okay? Don't go with something so dark, you know, if you don't have to. Just initial. And that one's a little bit darker than I thought. Let me see this one right here. Okay, let's start off with the apricot, okay? And I'm just going to color her shirt here. Alright, that's very light. So let's go to this one right here. Let's kind of keep this in the shadows. Actually, it's not too dark. As far as her shirt goes, okay, let's blend that in a little bit with the lighter one. The lighter one might actually kind of remove. Let's do her hat too. Just kind of blending this around a little bit. Maybe she's wearing, I don't know, like a darker blue hat, maybe. Let's see if I have a kind of a steel. Here's a blue-gray. Perfect. I don't know if it is, but as far as the color that kind of I'm looking for, maybe that's a little bit too light. Actually, this will work really good for my shadows, too. I can hit some of the shadows underneath, like her arm here. Certain areas of her are a little bit dark. Let me go into her legs. Not that she'd have blue-gray legs, but, you know, it's just kind of in darkness here. Get her some of her boots, maybe. Okay. And I think I want to go into the that mountain a touch more. Let's go with cool gray number 5. And I'll pop out the 0.5 again here, just to blend things in a little bit more. Okay, so I'm hitting my shadow areas. It's a little bit too dark, so I'll just kind of put a touch of it here and there. And I'll blend it in after. It's kind of giving a little bit more light and drama, I think, to these areas, the illuminated areas. Let's go down here and just color in this whole section. Okay, maybe I'll put a little bit more shading on some of these rocks. I'm kind of not coloring out them completely. I'm kind of leaving the top sides of them lit, so it looks like the light is hitting them. Alright. That looks good as far as my mountain goes. Let's take a look. I feel like I'm working on a coloring book or something when I'm doing so much pen work. Kind of looks like the last light of the day or something of that sort. Okay, let me take a little bit of black dye-based ink. Alright. I'll take my cosmetic brush here and ink that up. Okay. And I'm going to put a little bit of more of a stronger vignette around the scene, so I'll concentrate this color mostly on the four corners, but maybe I'll put some around on the perimeter as well. Okay. Starting off with my four corners. I just want to contain the composition a little bit more than it is right now by giving it a little bit of a stronger perimeter, a stronger shaded perimeter, I should say. See a kind of darker area right in here. It's making this area, I think, look a little bit more kind of illuminated and glowing. Okay, put some right over here. Kind of the far side of the lake type of thing. Alright, the composition feels just a little bit more contained to me now with that kind of stronger vignette going on right around in here, especially down here. It's a little bit more anchored, I think, from a visual standpoint in terms of giving objects a touch of visual weight and opacity. See, I had these, like these are island stamps, but they're just down here in the foreground, so it's a little rock outcropping or something like that, rock outcropping or whatever, kind of sitting out in the middle of the on the shoreline of the lake. But okay, if I make this area darker down here, then what it does is it kind of anchors them down a little bit, and it says that they're not transparent or something like that, where the light is kind of showing through them. So I just think it gives that area down there a little bit of a better feel. And right around in here, some shadows in here, kind of the light coming through. And the trees affecting this area in terms of you know, the kind of a shaded area. All right, okay, that is good enough for that. Let's hit this up with a little bit of now I didn't leave too much white, so I don't know how much of this white gel pen I'll use in here, but it's always nice to have a little bit of a kind of a shimmer in instances of water. Let me see. One of my Uniball Signos is not working. This one is okay. My other ones are all out of ink. I've used them so much. Okay, so starting in the lighter areas, this is where I will try to stay within the field of view. Okay, now I'm going to turn my card here this way because it's just at a better angle for me. Okay, but I'll start off my little dots in the center, in the light areas, the illuminated areas, okay? And then as I move out, I'm spreading these dots apart from each other a little bit more, okay? So it kind of tapers off the highlighting. Okay, so a little bit more in the lit areas, and as I move away from it, the dots are kind of spread apart more, okay? And this is giving a surface to this water too. It's creating something on top of it, so we have these rocks underneath the water, these little pebbles down here, but up top here you get that texture. So let's see if I can see all that texture right in here. You can see where all the dots are, like that when I catch the glare, but it looks like just like that now. Okay, we'll do the same for over here. More dots right here, and then it'll taper out away from it. Okay, got a nice shimmer on the lake. Maybe too much, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of it when you look at it, but this is like, you know, the distance that you'd most likely be looking at, you know, your pieces from. So maybe not too extreme in that sense. Okay, let me put a little bit of highlights on some of these trees, maybe, just to make them look a little bit more dimensional. Okay. I could put some over here. You know, maybe don't go overboard with it, but a few branches here and there. I think it just kind of creates a, I don't know, a little bit more of a magical type of setting when you have kind of, you know, crystalline little beads of light on things. Can you see it right here? These trees. Alright, so you see there's all dots here and there. Yeah, it's primarily on the side of the tree that's facing the light. But that's not to say that that branch wouldn't have one, you know. You know, just so it isn't so dominant, you know, you can put some on the other side as well, but I just kind of focus a lot more on the sides of the tree that are facing the light, just to kind of reiterate it, you know, that lighting scheme. Okay, and here's a tree right here. I'll put a few on that. Okay, now we have our rocks on the other side of the water. These ones are more silhouette based, okay? But these ones right here are top lit, so I'll go in and I'll reiterate some of that top lighting, catching that light from, that's coming out from between there. Yeah, we have the trees that might be blocking off, a lot of that light, but who cares? I like to make these rocks seem a little bit more rounded, three-dimensional, by doing this lighting on them. Maybe some of these rocks, some of these trees in the background can be capturing some of that light as well. I don't know how, let me see if I can get a little bit closer. Alright, now my camera is like completely right in front of my face, but okay, a little bit more over here, closer to the light, okay? And as I move into the darkness, there's less dots, so, a couple little dots here and there, like that. Or highlights, Okay, so we have that. This is more kind of the distance that we're viewing a card from, but you get a little some of the details that way. These slopes right here, light is hitting some of these areas, okay? So let's go in there and just reiterate, with a little bit more kind of lighting, we can make that, you can kind of turn that object in space, a little bit, by having different, degrees of lighting on it. So I put that tinge of, distress ink over it, that light, very light value of that warm color. So just going back in here with pure white gives it that little bit extra, so I can transition it from light, very light to white here, okay, with that. I'm going to create some larger little highlights on my water surface just so that texture isn't so monotonous. Okay. Let me see if I kept my mask that I used with my pigment ink from one of the previous scenes. I did this little bit of a kind of smoke rising from or mist, well, smoke, I guess, rising from my cabin. Let me see if I can do that here too. There's a little bit of a coffee right here. I don't want to add too much little mist to that, but maybe just a touch. Okay, this is my mask right here that I'm going to use. Okay, that. And we'll just go with some Colorbox from Frost White pigment ink, just applied with a cotton swab here. Okay, and I'll just put I cut this out last time, you know, for my chimney, but it's going to be subtle because I'm adding this white into an area that's not very dark, so I don't know if it'll show up or not. Yeah, it's so light in there, I can't really see it. I try to just add it. Alright, my cotton swab's just completely... This will be a good one for up here, though. I want to push that mountain back here a little bit more into the distance, so I'll kind of lighten that, that defining line. Some of that light kind of pouring through here a little bit. Kind of have the light seem a little bit more physical, you know, when you have it illuminating things, you know, that's supposed to be like mist or something like that. See this right here, this line right here? Let's kind of lighten it up a little bit and see how it kind of puts the light into those areas a little bit more. You can have it between your trees like this. I wouldn't do it over here because you don't have a light over there, but over here, you know, you can kind of lighten those up a little bit like that. Okay, let me try to hit her coffee a little bit more like this. Something like that. It's kind of obscured a little bit of her hair. Let me wipe that off. You can always wipe off pigment too. Alright, let's see. We have this real busy area down here in the water. Let me just kind of illuminate that a little bit more with some of this pigment ink, so that those little white dots aren't so crazy looking, you know, with so many of them. Okay. A little bit more atmospheric. I really love what's going on back in here. Let's put a little bit more in there. Maybe something like that. How about a little bit of a fog or mist kind of starting to build up on the water surface? It's kind of obscuring, you know, some of that line a little bit. Maybe that's a little bit too much, though, so I can kind of tap some of it off. And put a little bit of mist behind the trees and in front of the mountain. Kind of create a little bit of a separation between that space and there, which is probably quite vast in terms of the distance. I'm doing this with a very dry cotton swab. Okay, and my pigment ink is really quite dry in my pad here too, so I always just kind of remove off, most of the ink, almost all of it, I would say, before you start doing this type of touch. Otherwise, you do kind of blobs of paint everywhere. But see, it's kind of changing the spirit of that back there, isn't it? I think I said dusk. This is looking more like dawn to me, especially with her out there with her coffee, if I didn't say that. See these little tiny trees in between the taller ones on this image? If I kind of blot off some of those smaller ones, it looks like the smaller ones are a little bit, farther off in the distance. You might guess I really enjoyed adding this pigment ink into my scenes. I'm adding a little bit more than I thought I would, but I like that variation happening back there now. There's something, I don't know, that effect on light that it can bring into a scene. All right, that was the color box. Let me try my Hero Hues. Hero Hues is a little bit more opaque. Still translucent, but I want to go even lighter in here, so it's not only kind of a little bit more opaque, but but the pad's also brand new, so there's a ton of ink in there. I think as I do this, I'm kind of adding more for her to enjoy in terms of the view and atmosphere. So I want that figure to have a really great time in the moment here. Okay, let's take a look at this. Look at that passage through there. It was kind of it was okay, but I think it's become a little bit more integral in the scene in terms of what's going on back there, with that light. It's kind of like pouring through the the opening between the two peaks, the ranges or whatever. Well, it's probably still supposed to be part of the same mountain range, but the separate yeah, mountains. Something like that. Feel like kind of a little more of that cloud back in there. Okay. Down here in the water. Now, this pigment ink is going to dry darker than what it looks like when it's been freshly applied and wet. So I'm going to add a little bit more than I think looks ideal. I mean, you can always add more, you know, after you kind of see what it looks like after it dries, but I'm just going to do most of it, if not all of it right now. I have those two other compositions that I want to do too. Alright, so there we have it. A Sierra, or I don't know, could be wherever you want it to be. Could be in Canada too. In their like 1 month of kind of a hiking season opportunities or whatever it might be. But kind of have some nice bright tones down here and some nice beautiful muted gray tones up here. There is that blue. It looked very blue up there before, right? You know, when I first started applying that gray back in there, but it's largely warm up here now, and you can see that little tinge of warmth up there provided by those distress inks, you know. Go for some really light shades like that, and you can introduce that into an otherwise cool colored scheme, right? Can you see that kind of warmth down in here as well? But that's what that does, and it's not only in this area that it's visible, but it's underneath this whole area right here. So I think it gives it a little bit more of a kind of a color glow in here. So anyways, there's one way, one color scheme too, to color a scene. This one's almost, I wouldn't say as much of the alcohol ink as it was with the dye-based ink, but they certainly played a pretty big factor. You know, we get those real intense areas, you know, of hue down here in terms of the brightness, and those were really provided by those alcohol pens. And I don't know, when you're working with those really light values of all your pens, you can really kind of play around with them in a very, very user-friendly manner, because they're so light, they don't, you know, make a big, huge commitment to whatever hue you happen to be working with, hue and value, so you can really kind of experiment around with them. And like I did so many times with those pens, I went in with the brighter tones and darker ones that left kind of a more definitive mark, and I just went back in with the lighter ones and used those lighter ones as a blending tool and blended them out a little bit, you know, in the various areas. So really good tools to work with, and the very fact that alcohol inks won't smear your dye-based inks is really nice. So if I stamped those out in something like a VersaFine black or something like that, that's not a dye-based ink. So if you went over them without kind of spray sealing at first, then you would certainly get something like a VersaFine smearing. So if you're going to use something like a VersaFine, my general recommendation would be to save that till the end. But otherwise, if it's just all dye-based inks, you can go right over it with your, you know, various alcohol pens, you know, without any types of repercussions as far as like potential smears or something of that sort. So, all right. Morning time, a morning cup with a great view. Hope you enjoyed the scene, and thanks as always for watching.